Welcome back, folks, to another episode of the College Baseball Show live on Thursday here as we do another preview here of Week 5. I'm Mark Ellen. I'm joined by my friend here, Tyler Jennings, from our On the Clock side, the draft side. How we doing, Tyler?
Getting a little bit of a cold, but, pretty good so far. It was 90 degrees yesterday. Now it's like 35, so we're just living the dream out here.
We got snowflakes for the first time, and usually I get feet of snow where I live up here in the mountains. Got snowflakes, and it was gone, and it was 55 later that afternoon. I'm like, we're broken. I don't know what's going on here. The weather is crazy. It's chaos. Chaos like Midweek Madness. But first, I want to talk about the injuries news that came out. I saw this here from Kendall Rogers at D1 Baseball reported. TCU has Franco's going to be out for another 10 days, so he's going to miss this weekend series against Arizona State and possibly next weekend series as well. Tommy Lepore out 8 more weeks. Original news thought maybe he was going to be gone for the season. Kind of okay. If you're a TCU fan, he might come back at some point this season. What does that mean for him draft-wise and just TCU in general, Tyler?
Yeah, we'll start with what it means for TCU. I think knowing that there's a timeline where you can come back by the end of the season is good, because if you're TCU going down the stretch in a position to go for a regional hosting bid or at least get a 2 seed potentially, I'm like projecting in the future on that one. But that's big for them, because the additional news that I had received after the opening weekend was he might be done for the year with the flexor mass strain that he had in his right arm. So getting a timeline of 8 to 10 weeks for that is pretty big for that ball club, and having him back for the stretch run. On the draft side, I don't. People understand that I've been on the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to consensus on him. And I've spoken to some other people, and I've kind of expressed my thoughts where I would like to see an expansion to the arsenal, kind of separate the fastball, see how you can improve the slider, instead of looking at it as a projection wise, like how much more can you squeeze out of him? He's already a bodybuilder, but this does admittedly hurt him a little bit. When you look at injuries in the past few years, teams haven't been really scared of like these elbow injuries compared to shoulders. So when you look at that in a vacuum, the best case scenario on that front is, as much as it is an arm issue, it's the quote unquote lighter end of the spectrum when it comes to, anything with elbow, shoulder, because shoulders are devastating injuries when it comes to pitching. Elbows a little more easier to kind of come back from. But with his track record, he went and did. He was outstanding at Wichita State his freshman year. Obviously, probably should have won Big Ten Pitcher of the Year last year for TCU. So the track record's there. I don't think it's going to hamper him too much. But, I've said before, I think him more of like a rounds 4 or 5, maybe 6 on him before that. And I'm not going to change my opinion on that. I think that's roughly where he is now, even with the injury. But again, it's nice to see that we do have kind of some clarity on when he comes back, and hopefully he'll come back healthier and better than ever. I'm excited to see what he does. Definitely down the stretch for this TCU ball club.
Yeah, a TCU team that a lot of people have still in Omaha. Lots of talent on this team, especially when they're healthy. They have a lot of talent. Like, they could definitely get there. So the fact of the matter is he's going to be probably pitching meaningful innings at some point this season, it sounds like, which would be really big for TCU, especially if he comes back and even throws a little bit in the Big 12, postseason, and then he gets the chance to throw in regionals. That's going to be big for their chances of succeeding and getting to where their ultimate goal is of Omaha. Franco, good news also, 10 days only. Like, that's more like precaution to keep him out, it sounds like, for the next 10 days to where they're going to want him to be 100% healthy as a two-way player when he comes back. So that's an exciting news for them. So more on the pitching side for him for the 10 days, but good to see that he'll be back at some point this season also. Let's get into some of these games for the Midweek Madness. Started off on Monday. Yes, I know it's part of the weekend series for both these teams. Oregon State beats Xavier 7-2. The offense is starting to come alive for Oregon State, kind of where we want to see them. Pitching-wise, they didn't give up more than 2 runs the entire weekend. Looked really good for them. Kind of knew that from that pitching staff. The other side of it, Arkansas losing to Stetson 6-4, 10 more strikeouts for this offense. They gave up, 4 runs in the first, and they really never climbed back. Like, Arkansas was out of this game the whole time, Tyler.
Yeah, and I think I had seen something where this is the first non-conference series that Oregon State. Arkansas hasn't won in 34 non-conference series or something like that, which is, first off, mind-boggling to think about.
Yeah.
But I think it does kind of point to some of the concerns we've had about this offense the past couple of weeks, where they feel anemic. They don't feel it doesn't feel like they're really living up to the potential that they have. Like Cam Kojal, Ryder Helfrich, TJ Pompey, we had mentioned this. Like Pompey, especially, like this is a bounce back guy, and he's really not shown it this year. And kind of just looking at some of the totals from that game too, like Kojal 0 for 5 of a K. Ryder Helfrich was 1 for 5, 3 Ks. TJ Pompey was, golden sombrero basically. So it wasn't a great showing for some of the bigger bats in that lineup. And like Nolan Souza coming back from an injury a year ago hasn't really done very well. He's only hitting a $196 so far through the season. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm kind of worried about with this offense right now. The pitching, I think, is fine. I understand, James DeCramer didn't record out in the first inning against Stetson on Monday. But they pitched very well behind that. I think the only 2 runs they allowed after that was from Tate McGuire. And then Eves and Coyle I think Eves was like 4 shutout, and then Coyle had 2 shutouts. So, I'm not worried about the pitching staff, but the offense, I'm starting to kind of wonder if, do we start to hit the panic button a lot more frequent than we did a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, and even the 4 runs off of Kramer, they were like 3 infield singles. Like, it was unfortunate. A couple walks got him in trouble, and the pitching's been fine. Dietz has been really, really good for them on weekends. I think Geichel will get there. Like, he's not going to be as like people say he's struggling. He's not really struggling that much. Like, it's not super sharp yet, but I feel like they're going to be fine on the weekend. The problem is hitting. The strikeout numbers are insane for them. TJ Pompey has 50% of his at-bats right now are strikeouts. That's not good. And this is the guy that we all picked to be this bounce back candidate. We thought, hey, this is a 300 hitter. This is a pro level bat coming in here. It's been a struggle for him. There's a big opportunity for him to turn this around, though. Like, I think that we're just so high on his talents. He could turn this thing around. It wouldn't surprise anybody if he figures it out, stop swinging and missing, gets into it. I think we all be just saying, hey, This is kind of what we projected anyway.
Speaking of big league bats, Uncle Ted over here with Ace Reese.
I got my new Mississippi State hat up on the wall today, too. So, absolutely. Ace Reese, absolute dude. I cannot wait this weekend. We're going to mention that here in a little bit, but Arkansas traveling, Mississippi State going down to play Arkansas. We can't wait. We'll talk about that series when we get past all the midweek madness. Let's get into one here. Tuesday, Georgia Southern goes down and beats Clemson. I mean, we'll talk about another ACC team, and Elon beating NC State. Another ACC team goes down. Wake goes down to Coastal and lose. Kind of strange seeing on Tuesday, those 3 ACC teams that are really highly rated for us all go down.
Yeah, in the biggest thing I want to at least talk about with NC State, obviously being the NC State fan here, Elon pitched very, very well against them on Tuesday. NC State has arguably one of the better offenses in the country. I think they're top 10 in numerous offensive categories. So you got to tip your cap to Elon. NC State did not pitch bad whatsoever. 2-0 loss is definitely, it sucks. It's nail biting, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But looking at what NC State kind of has had recently, they have a really bad loss to Lafayette last Friday. There's another really bad one in there too. I think it was to Princeton a couple weeks prior.
Princeton, on the doubleheader.
So there's definitely some concern about the lack of competition that these states had to start the year. It's not a very good out of conference RPI, if I remember correctly, is somewhere in the 200s, maybe even lower than that. So to have those losses really does sting, especially the Lafayette one, because Lafayette was 0-7 coming into that game, and they not only did they beat them, they absolutely just blew them out of Doak Field, and that's even, I understand Ryan Marone didn't start and everything like that, but it's still not a good look for a ball club that. We have them ranked around 20. I know some sites do have them in the top 10. I personally don't see it, but pushing that aside and going to Clemson with their loss to Georgia Southern, we've talked about Georgia Southern's pitching being, I think the best word to describe is atrocious this year.
It's not good. It's not
been great. So to only score 1 run against that pitching staff in the midweek and losing 6-1 is pretty devastating. And we're looking at what they're doing now. They're down 10-0 to Georgia Tech here, top 7. It's a little worrying kind of looking at that right now. I understand Georgia Tech is amazing, offensively and everything, but I also understand Clemson's walked 4 times, 1 hit. It's kind of just looking like this offense is kind of going cold a little bit too quickly right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the rest of the weekend pans out for them. But yeah, definitely not the way you want to start the weekend or the week rather. And then with Coastal and Wake Forest, I thought that was a pretty darn good game.
Good game.
Honestly.
Yeah. The 10 run's not really indicative of what this score felt like for most of the game.
It was pretty close throughout the game too.
Yeah.
And I think you got to also give shout out to Coastal for the way they've kind of bounced back. Like we've talked about before, Cam Flukie, Hayden Johnson, those are your 2 big guys out. I understand they don't pitch midweeks, but some of the concerns I had offensively, especially after the weekend they had in Houston, are kind of gone a little bit. They've looked a lot better. They go out and prove me wrong on the pick'em. I picked ECU to win that handily. They absolutely did not. But again, the offense has started to turn the corner. They found their identity a little bit, and it's impressive to watch. And I think once they get their 2 arms back, this is going to be a team to really watch out for moving forward.
Yeah, Rex and then Colby, Colby Thorndike really just putting it together. And Demios was already doing things at the top of the lineup now. So now you're getting some guys that are figuring themselves out. That batting average has steadily climbed over the weekend and then into this game here. As long as they can hit, they're going to find themselves in a position if they get Hayden Johnson back and if they get Cam Flukie back at the end of the season, like we talked about, the last few weeks, they're going to find themselves in a position to win late and possibly scare some people late and probably not be a host seed, but they're going to put themselves in that conversation to be a high 2 and really scare off some people and be a really, challenge for a lot of people with those 2 arms coming back. Let's talk about Florida State and Florida, probably the biggest matchup here during the midweeks this weekend. Florida State goes down to Florida. Florida looks good. I mean, pitched well, shut down that Florida State offense, got enough offense out of their guys. 6-3 win there. Just a really good baseball game for Florida. The arms were better than they have been. Those extra arms haven't been terrific during midweeks. They looked really good this weekend or during that Tuesday game there.
Yeah, and it felt like Florida was really pitching off a lot too. Sanford only went 1 1/3, wasn't pitching great, admittedly. Walked 3, struck out 2, but also gave up 2 runs. Yeah. But Luke McNeely coming out, only allowing 1 run in 2 2/3, and then you get the quartet, if we want to call it that, of Sandifer, Barberi, Lugo Canchola, and Rittenauer, who he's just insane to watch. Yeah. I remember this kid as a high schooler and watching him throw fuzz, and now it's even better. Struck out 5. All of his outs on Tuesday were strikeouts. So he's hitting 100. The slider looks insane. He looks the part of a very good power arm that could probably play somewhere in the minor leagues at some point right now if he had signed out of high school. But he's now the closer for a Florida team that looks like is kind of starting to find its identity a little bit. And it's a big bounce back for them, especially losing that series against High Point this past week. Yeah. High Point, they go down there, they win the first 2. It's not even they squeaked it out. This is they trounced them the first 2 games. And I thought they were going to win the last game until High Point's pitching kind of fell apart towards the end there. But, Florida State, kind of looking at what they had too, they didn't perform terribly either. My biggest concern for them was kind of just they left, I believe, 8 on base. Yeah. And the top 3 in the lineup, I know Miles Bailey went 0-4 with 3 Ks. Noah Sheffield, who's been pretty darn good, started his year here, was also 0-4. John Stutzer was also 0-3. But the bottom of the lineup did pretty well. Hunter Carnes 2-3. Cal Fisher 1-4. Putnam and Bavaro were 1-2 and 1-3 as well. So I want to see more from the top of this lineup personally before we kind of go into this Wake Forest series this week. I'll be there tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday, so I'll try and get the entire series. I think it's going to be a very good pitching matchup in that ballpark. I also do expect there to be 320-foot home runs because that ballpark in Winston-Salem is a bandbox. It's a trampoline. So, but again, I think you just look at this and look at Florida, and this is definitely a good bounce back after a rough weekend. And to have the pitching performance that they had is pretty darn good to have.
Yeah, just really, really good stuff. So speaking of High Point, they did beat Duke also on the Tuesday game. So good week for High Point. They win at home 12-6 in that one. Texas remains undefeated, going down to Texas State, winning 15-4. not a lot to say there. That was just an overall performance there from Texas. Just looked good offensively. The pitching's just been elite. The fact is they haven't used a ton of arms on weekends, so that means that these weekday guys get to go a lot longer. They have a lot more juice. They're really performing on every level you could think of. USC wins again. They beat Long Beach State at home 6-1, and then they win in 10 innings last night and beat San Diego 7-6 with a walk-off sac fly. USC continues to do it, man. And I saw a stat from 6-4 Analytics where their opponent's OPS right now, Tyler, is .469. That's insane to keep people that low.
Yeah, and I think they have the best pitching staff in the country by like a full run or something. It's ridiculous how good they have been to start the year. And, you know, you look at this last year, like Mason Edwards wasn't throwing as hard as he was a year ago. You know, yeah. I highlighted him before the year. He's going to go into a Friday night role. He was touching 95, 96 before the year started. Could he be the best southpaw in the country in this draft class? I still feel like he's got a very good chance to be that arm. And he went like 34, 35 batters in a row without allowing a hit. You know, that's pretty good. Grant Govil, also just as good. But again, it's not just them. It's the whole staff. Chase Harrell went 5 2/3, no walks, 7 strikeouts, 3 hits allowed against Long Beach State. And then you come out last night. I understand, you know, USC probably should have won it a little more handily. They kind of gave up 3 in the 7th, but they locked down after that. They get the walk-off win from Adrian Lopez in the 10th. This USC ball club is just really, really good. I think for a team that's as historic as they are, they have not had the greatest history the past few years. To see them back on the big stage like this is very welcoming, and the way they're doing it is just pure dominance, and I'm here for it. It's been really good. I'm really excited to see where both Edwards and Govil end up in draft conversations later on. I think Mason Edwards has a chance to be a first rounder, by the way. I'm going to put that out there. Grant Govil, I've still got to figure out what Govil is. But those two guys are fantastic, and I'm glad that it's not just them. Like, just looking at their performance last night against San Diego, Maximo Martinez was 3 for 5. Maximo Martinez he's I believe a true sophomore. He's like the only sophomore in that lineup outside of one other guy. So this is a experienced ball club. It's a good mix of these leaders as juniors and seniors with a mix of sophomores and freshmen that are just really putting together a complete performance game in and game out for Sienkiewicz and his coaching staff over there.
Yeah, and this is a team, you know, like we talked about, they were 1 win away from winning the Corvallis Regional. So these guys are hungry, man. They want it, remain undefeated. I think we all thought it was just a matter of time before Stank got this team going the right way. Finally getting some home games at their home ballpark, I think has made a world of difference for this team. And we knew the pitching staff was going to be good at some point. We didn't think it was necessarily going to be this year. I mean, you and I both liked Edwards. We didn't really know what else they had. And then it turns out that they have a lot of arms, and it's a lot of that pitching staff has done terrific just getting these guys set up for the season. So hats off to Stank. We knew it would be a matter of time with what good he was at Grand Canyon. It's proven. We love it. Tulane at Mississippi State. Mississippi State gets the win there. Again, Ace Reese had a big hit there in that one. Ole Miss and Southern Miss. Southern Miss walks off Ole Miss, like unbelievable effort. They just continue to find ways to win. A 2-1 victory there, Tyler. Really good performance by the pitching again. The pitching has been, again, another team that we thought maybe, hey, offense is going to carry them. Their pitching has been really, really good. And the offense has been okay, but it's been the pitching that's really been surprising, I think, to make this a top 10 team.
Yeah, it's been really, really impressive for Southern Miss. Like, you look at what they had against Ole Miss. Thomas Crabtree goes 3 shutout. Sundstrom, three innings. He only gave up the 1 run. And then after that, Bruce Littleton, Josh Osh, Camden Clark.
Bruce Littleton's been so good.
He is not allowed to run this year. It was a shutout. It was a shutout frame with 2 strikeouts. Osh had an inning in the 3rd with a walk and 2 Ks, and then Camden Clark comes in, strikes out a guy. I believe the other guy was a fly out. But yeah, this Southern Miss ball club, man, the pitching's been outstanding to start the year. Colby Allen's been very good in their Friday night role. I've really liked Graydon Harris as their Saturday guy. I was talking to a friend of mine who works over at Overslot with Joe Doyle and those guys, and I had mentioned that Graydon Harris looks very good. It's like very deceptive, low slot lefty, tons of extension. And he was like, I'll go ahead and take a look at this and see what it's like. He came back and was like, you hit the nail on the head with that. So This is a ball club that, again, we've talked about before. Coastal, slow start to the year. Is this Southern Miss's year? I'm still not too sure just yet, but it's starting to really look like it at this point. And Ole Miss did not pitch bad whatsoever.
No, really good performance still by them. I mean, they just couldn't get after those guys. And once Littleton came in, like it felt like that was it for them for the rest of the time. They were kind of shut down. They were stymied.
Yeah, and like even looking at the starter, they had Taylor Rabi, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. 2 2/3 shutout, no hits, no walks. Granted, it's just one strikeout, but like just talking about the overall performance there and what the stuff that he had. I know people have kind of gushed about it over the social media spaces the past week or so. It's really, really good. Like it's like Cade Townsend on the midweeks right now is probably the best way I can describe it from a pure stuff standpoint. To have that for Ole Miss is pretty darn impressive. So got to give credit to those guys. They pitched one hell of a game, even if they came out on the bad end of it. But yeah, this was probably the best midweek game in terms of competitiveness and the outcome too. Like Southern Miss, this is a great win for their resume towards the end of the year. If they end up being a host or even a national seed, this is going to look very good on their paper.
Yeah, taking care of these games early for them has put them in a position where now they're like, hey, as long as they do what they're supposed to do in the Sun Belt, if they go win the Sun Belt, they should be a national seed at this point because they've beaten everybody that they're supposed to in the midweeks. They've beaten the Ole Miss. They've beaten Mississippi State. Like that's who you want to be a national seed. You got to beat those teams in the midweeks, and they did. And they've really done it impressively. Different ways. Offensively, they've done it. They've done it with pitching. I'm really impressed with this Southern Miss team. And like you said, what they're getting from Grayson on Saturday. I don't think anybody thought that that's what they were going to get. Like we were like, oh, he'll be competitive. He's been really, really good for them. I mean, he was our national pitcher of the week this week because of how well he performed in the 7 innings pitched and 13 strikeouts. So yeah. I love what they're doing, man. It's really good stuff. Alabama picks up a win at home against Troy. 2 Alabama teams there, 7-3. UTSA and Texas Tech split. UTSA wins the first one 9-8. Texas Tech wins the second one 10-5. That was an interesting one for me because, a lot of people have UTSA in the top 25. We have them in the top 25. I'm interested to see if they stay in the top 25 just because of the fact that, we talked about it so much. They don't have their Friday night starter. It's starting to bleed into the midweeks here, Tyler, where you're starting to see some of these arms they're down to their 13, 14 guys out there throwing that they probably wouldn't have had they been healthy arm-wise.
Yeah, and Orlovsky too was going to be a big draft guy before the year started.
Yeah,
and again, it's kind of like with Tommy Laporte. Does he have the same kind of track record? No, he doesn't. But he performed very well as a sophomore. He has been previously drafted by the Red Sox back in 2023. I believe he was a 20th rounder out of Idaho, so he has the track record there. Still too early to tell what it looks like on a draft standpoint. But obviously, big loss for them. But then you get down to the nitty gritty and sound like farther down this pitching staff. There's not as much experience as some of these other clubs. In Texas Tech too, obviously this is a ball club a year ago that we looked at as like the drop off from, the mid 2010s has been pretty astounding for a Tim Tadlock led team.
Yeah,
this was routinely a College World Series bound team, and now we're kind of looking at it as like it's not that great. The thing that's really surprised me so far is how this offense has kind of been able to keep themselves in ball games. Like Logan Hughes has kind of found his stride. Lincoln Garcia has been one of the best freshmen in the country. And I don't think he's getting enough credit for what he's been able to do. He's hitting, I believe, just shy of 400 this year already. Multiple home runs, looks very, very good in the infield. He's really putting himself in a position to where he might be freshman of the year in the Big 12. Personally, and that's going up against some pretty solid guys from TCU and some other ball clubs that have gotten some pretty good freshman arms and freshman bats. So, kind of just looking at this from a college baseball standpoint, it's nice to see Texas Tech kind of find its bearings a little bit, and to really kind of show that like we still have some guys here. Again, it's still not the mid 2010s Texas Tech teams that we all loved watching go to Omaha year in year out, or have these national seeds. I remember the Oklahoma State Super Regional 2017, I do believe. That was probably one of the most fun Super Regionals I have ever seen in person. Just sitting here in my room watching it, but yeah, like the Texas Tech ball club is probably a lot better than what some people realize.
Yeah. A lot more offense than people think. And I think that they're going to give some people some problems here in Big 12 play. I was hoping for a bounce back season. I know I rated them a little bit higher than most people did this preseason, just because I thought, hey, that offense with Logan Hughes, he can be a stud. And now they got some other pieces. I think that they're going to put some fear in some teams. They're going to go out there and hit the ball. A team that's also hitting the ball in the Big 12, Arizona State. They went out and beat Arizona 10-4. Arizona feels like it's just a strange thing that they're just struggling so bad. But Arizona State seems to be able to hit on all cylinders. Yeah, they had a rough weekend in Texas, but now that they're looking into Big 12 play and they open with TCU this weekend, I think it's going to be tough to beat these guys offensively.
Yeah, and part of my reasoning as to why, like when we show the pick'ems later, like I did pick Arizona State to win this series, because I just feel like the offense, as much as they struggled in Arlington, that wasn't the biggest weak point for them. The biggest weak point was kind of their pitching staff. Like Cole Carlin was fantastic, had to come up because of a cramp, and then all of a sudden here comes the bullpen, and really they just didn't put everything together. It was really kind of a nightmare to watch. There were some bright spots to look at. Alex Overbay, who's now been put into the starting rotation, looked fantastic in Arlington. Yep. Comes out, pitches Saturdays. So, kind of looking at like what they have in the lineup, Landon Hairston, PJ Mount-Zordis, Dominic Longo, the 1-2-3 combo they have at the top of that lineup is really, really impressive. I think Hairston hit a ball like 110, 420 the other night against this Arizona ball club, who they found their footing a little bit last week. I think Owen Krankowski looked a lot better than he has to start the year, which is fantastic. He really needed that kind of outing. But again, you kind of just looking at the offense in general for Arizona, there's still some guys hitting below the Mendoza line at 200. So it's a little worrying for this Arizona team. I don't personally think they're going to be a tournament team this year. I think we've already kind of had that set in stone even before this, but I think now at this point, we could probably send it off with the pigeon and see what we can kind of do next year, which really sucks because this is a team that's, again, coming off a Omaha appearance that they go to Chapel Hill and they take a punch in the face game one and come back and win the next two. And now Here we are, we're kind of just hoping they get to a 500 record by the end of the year. So it's kind of sucks for them. But at the same time, you give credit to Arizona State, what they've been able to do to kind of bounce back in this Big Ten and kind of just, again, they take their punches in Arlington, come back, they put up 10 this week, and they looked really, really good doing so.
Yeah, I have big things there for Arizona State. And Arizona, now they lost Easton Brayfogle for the season, and they've already lost Tony Pluto. Like, there's just so many things piling up on them. I think they're going to be competitive. Chip Hale's going to continue to coach this team up. I think pitching-wise, like you said, Kremkowski's going to get better than where he has been to start the season. Smith Bailey's been really good for them on Saturdays in general. I think that they'll be fine. But, again, it's tough. It's tough to see right now, to see that kind of team just dissipate like that. UCLA, run rules, UC Irvine. A UC Irvine team that's been really good this season. They've had, I will say, maybe not really good. They've had some highs and they've had some really bad lows. UCLA is for real. I mean, Tyler, there's so much to like about this team, and Rochwowski, obviously the leader, but Mulavai Lavu, he's been unreal, man. This guy needs to be talked about more as a great first baseman, tremendous leader, and the hitting tools are just right there, man.
Yeah, I had mentioned this on the On the Clock pod where I went solo and talked about the Arlington teams for basically an hour and 15 minutes. I probably spent the most time on this UCLA ball club because it's just so deep and so good. The offense 1 through 9, kind of just looking at it, Dean West, he hasn't performed great at the top of that lineup, but he's made it to where, he gets on base, he gets the train rolling. You get Rock immediately after. Mulavai Lavu's hitting close to 400 with, another 2-4 performance last night. Romo Martin's your cleanup hitter. Will Brennan, granted, he's not been fantastic to kind of like ever since he hit the home run against I believe it was Tegan Coons that was like opposite field, and we were looking at it like there's no way that was 434. But behind that, Will Gasparino hitting 400, also has 10 bombs on the year, might be 11 now, actually. I can't remember the last time I checked that. Castro Duggar has been really good. And then you even have guys behind that like Dominic Cadiz, who's been rock him as well. So the offense has just been the offense has just been so good to start the year. And we've talked about it before with UC Irvine. Your offense hasn't really necessarily been great to start the year, but the pitching staff's been been pretty darn good to start the year. Really does suck when Kate Castles gets blown up for 9 runs, only 5 earned though, which kind of lessens the blow a little bit, but that's a lot of defensive votes that got to be cleaned up. But it's really hard to talk bad about this UCLA ball club. They've performed very well against, I would say, pretty solid opponents so far. UC San Diego beat them. San Diego State has a pretty good system with them. They went 3-0 against SEC ball clubs in Arlington. There's not much to really
teams. Yeah.
There's really not much to talk smack about with this UCLA ball club right now. It's just really, really good.
I mean, there's arguments out there if people want to, like I said, if people want to put Texas ahead of them as their one, whatever. Okay, I understand. I'll hear the argument, but UCLA is the best team in the country right now. They're the most complete team. They have the most weapons. They're going to be the most dangerous. And the schedule for them really softens up here for a little while. So for as far as wins go, they're going to be able to pile quite a bit here all the way up until they play that Oregon series. And that's, at home this year against Oregon. That's even tougher. So UCLA, keep an eye out, guys. If you're new to college baseball, UCLA baseball is good again. So they're going to be really good again this year. They were in Omaha last year. Surprise, surprise. This is a very talented team with possibly the number 1 draft pick there. Rock Schwalski playing shortstop for them. LSU remembers how to hit. They win the game 8-4. At one point, they were down in this game, though, and we all looked at each other. We're like, this can't be for real again. They're losing to Creighton. Like, no, this can't be. They're down 4-1. They figured it out. I think we all believe that the talent is there for LSU, and eventually they're going to put this thing together. This is an Omaha caliber talent team. Well, we've seen it before, though. In 2024, they kind of struggled, and they struggled all the way until they got to the Super Regional there, lost to North Carolina. This team feels eerily similar to that, Tyler.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a championship hangover effect, kind of like what we had in 23. They win the World Series, kind of stumble out of the gates. They were like last in the SEC going into that Tennessee series in 24, got swept, but then ended up being the 2 seed in Chapel Hill because they were able to bounce back. I don't want to say this team's going to do the exact same thing as what happened in 24. I think obviously right now you look at it, this is an offense that's been, like what you mentioned with Arkansas, is anemic. It's been basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Losing
bottom
that series
200.
Yeah. Losing the series to Sacramento State was really a shocker for me. More than what High Point was for beating Florida. Like High Point, as much as, yes, they're local to me. I know them a lot more than some other people in the space. Joey Hammond's been putting together really, really solid ball clubs the past few years, and I think this might be his best team yet. So it for me, I had a feeling like High Point may have taken 1 from Florida. Was I expecting a series win? Probably not. But looking at LSU, were you expecting Sacramento State to walk in there and win 2 of 3? No. That was a really big shock for me. But, it's nice to kind of see the offense bounce back a little bit. Jake Brown was 2 for 4. Zach York kind of bouncing back a little bit, had a 2-hit night as well. Derek Carriel, I'm wondering what's going on there. Like the hit tool's been there. The power really hasn't turned the corner like we thought it was going to, which is a little shocking. I know he hit his first bomb of the year this week. So yeah, I'm kind of really wondering what's been the big, trigger for this little lull in offense so far. I don't want to say the pitching's been terrible. Like they pitched pretty well against Sac State this past week. And even this week too, after a couple of issues in the early going, Maverick Rizzi, Devin Shear, and Santiago Garcia performed very, very well to end the game. So, I think LSU is going to find their way back into, the offense is going to start rolling again. That's again the SEC play. I believe they get, I can't remember who they get this week.
Vanderbilt, right?
Vanderbilt. Okay.
Vanderbilt.
That might be a good little palate cleanser a little bit. I feel like to get back on track a little bit for them. But again, this is a Jay Johnson ball club. They're going to find ways to grind out wins. I feel like, and like we had mentioned before, they were last in the SEC in 2024 at one point. There were talks of them not making it to Hoover, and then they came out and finished the season very, very well. So, that's basically the story of LSU baseball at this point. It's like Jay Johnson finds ways to win. That's all that really matters at this point.
Yeah, and I think that they'll find things with the offense. I think It may be just a little sleepy right now. It may just be behind it, but there's so much power. There's so much talent there. They're going to find the right mix of guys. They're going to find the right lineup. They're going to find the guys that are the best four hitters in there in the middle of that lineup, and they're going to put them in there. I'm not worried. Jay Johnson finds ways to win. He's a winner. He's going to figure it out. This team's going to be fine. So everybody hitting the panic button. Yes, there's been some bad losses. There's been some red flags. Give it a chance. We're walking into SEC play this weekend, folks. We're opening up with SEC play. There's going to be a lot of answers now. We don't have to predict what's going to happen. We're going to see it happen live to us in just a couple days here. We'll know more about these teams in our Monday talk when we talk about the top 25. We'll know a lot more about some of these SEC teams, Tyler. I'm excited for that. A team we do know about, Oregon, they beat Xavier 10-0. They beat them 6-3 last night. Xavier, man, a 6-game stretch where they go to Oregon State and Oregon, and the most runs they scored was 3. That was a tough set of 6 games for this Xavier team on the road.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before. The Oregon pitching staff has been stellar to start the year. And Xavier is no slouch of ball club. This is a team that should have made the NCAA tournament last year. They beat East Carolina opening weekend. They performed very well against Arkansas, even though they did not win a game in that series, if I remember correctly. Ryan Peich and Jack Rowe pitched very, very well. Oregon, I think, to me, when you compare it to that Arkansas offense, it has been kind of a different gear. Like Toby Twist went 5 shutout the other night. And looking at what the offense was able to do, Ryan Cooney and Jimenez, two hits at the top of that lineup. And they just hit throughout the lineup. Like Berkeley Mabius is their 8-hole. The catcher, 2 for 4, 2 runs, has a double to go with that.
Came in, pitch hit home run last night. Like,
yeah, like this Oregon ball club is definitely better than we really give them credit for. Like we've obviously mentioned about the pitching staff and how strong they've been to start the year. Like Tanner Bradley, Cal Scolari coming in from San Diego to really help, like Featherston and Will Sanford. The offense has really not been terrible at this point. Like, kind of just looking at it, Maddox Maloney's kind of been struggling a little bit when we talk about like draft pedigree to start the year. Ryan Cooney, though, has been hitting 340. Jimenez 373. They've got some really, really good power at the bottom left. Angel Laya has been very, very good as a freshman in like
good.
The 6-7 hole. They've got the pieces to be a contender in the Big Ten. I feel like that they definitely need some more flowers on their doorstep when it comes to the offense. It's been really good to start the year.
Yeah, and like you said, Maloney hasn't even been himself yet. Dominic Hellman has shown these flashes where he could be that guy. Like, if they start putting together the offensive numbers now, it hasn't been great warm weather here in Oregon. I'll tell you that right now. It's 2 hours away from me. I will be down there for the Saturday and Sunday games this weekend against Indiana. Very excited for that. And listen, it's going to get warmer. You're going to start seeing the ball fly out of that ballpark again. There's been so many good pieces for them. Jax Jimenez has been so good for them and really been a terrific leader for them. Jack Brooks playing center field, making the move from shortstop to center fielder. And the freshman, like I said, Angel Laya and Braden Jaskett, like they have dudes. This lineup's going to hit. They're going to scare some people. Drew Smith has been maybe the unsung hero playing third base for them and has just been able to hit the ball at the ballpark, been picking up the little things, been a real good vocal leader for them. Oregon deserves more credit. I'm with you. I think this is a 45 to 50 win team at some point this season. We're going to look back and go, they were really good. Yeah, they lost a midweek to Oregon. Yeah, they lost a weekend game to Purdue. Purdue's also really good, guys. Like a road series at Purdue, not easy. So I'm with you. I think that this Oregon team deserves a little bit more credit, especially if they go and win a weekend series this weekend at home against Indiana. It's time to start looking at them possibly as being one of those teams that could sneak in the top 10 and compete with Oregon or with UCLA at the end of the season. So I'm with you there, Tyler. TCU beats Kansas in the midweek 9-4. We already talked a lot about TCU. Looked good for them to go out there and get that win and kind of get ready for this weekend series against Arizona State. Oklahoma beats UT Arlington 6-1. I think the bigger game here on last night was Miami going down and beating UCF 9-5. They already had one of the best games of the year, up for a game of the year candidate already to start this season. 9-5 win for Miami. Good to see the offense going, Tyler.
Yeah, it is, especially after kind of I don't want to say they put like an egg in the basket against Florida. They were in it for a big majority of the first game of that series, and I thought it was going to swing their way with the way that the offense was going, but it just never did.
Yeah.
And Miami has found ways to kind of come back into some tight ball games. I remember against FAU, they put like a 7 spot in the ninth inning to stave off an upset bid. Last night, they put together 3 runs in the 7th to go ahead after UCF put up a 3 spot in the bottom of 6. So, it was a very, very interesting game to watch. And like UCF has their pieces, man. Andrew Williamson, I am a big fan of, have been for the past few months. I really, really like the swing, even though there's a lot of hand movement in there. It's really, really good power. Jordan Lodies, who we've all talked about, might be the best Lodies in the family. I'm just
be really
sorry
good,
for Alex.
True freshman, yeah.
Sorry, Alex and Kyle. It might be Jordan who's the best of you 3. But like the entire lineup's been pretty well. Like Mason Wilson, Javier Crespo has been hitting to start the year. Austin Jacobs has looked pretty good in the 9-hole as well. John Smith III is hitting 400 to start the year. But then you look at Miami. Dylan Dubovic is still hitting 450, which is insane to think about. He went over 5 last night, by the way, and is still hitting that high. But then you look at Alex Sosa, 2-hit performance. You look at Rylan West, who had the best performance offensively for them, 3 for 5. They've just been able to crank out quality at bats, and as much as they find themselves in these tight ball games, they still find ways to win, and that, I think that's the most impressive part for them. And their pitching staff, there's some holes to poke in them a little bit. I feel like you look at Lyndon Glidwell last night, gave up 3 earned runs in an inning in the 3rd, which really gave UCF a chance to kind of take off of that game, but then they responded with a big spot in the 7th. So, they find ways to respond. They take punches, they throw them back, which is a good sign of a ball club that knows how to fight adversity and come back when they're down.
Yeah. And we've talked about it. I think them at some point this season, they're supposed to get Frank Menendez back. And if they get him back, that's going to be a huge arm for them. I think that's just going to help out both midweeks and the weekend, especially even if he's coming out of the weekend bullpen and just kind of giving them another strong arm, a strong guy that they can turn to. Because it feels like the starters for Miami have been really good on the weekend. They haven't been bad. And then they just get to the bullpen. The bullpen seems to just kind of be struggling right now. But they're going to find themselves. I'm with you. I think this is a very good Miami team. A Miami team that I have picked to go to Omaha still. I think that the offense is going to come up. I believe in the pitching staff, and I think when they get Frank back, that's just going to make a big difference for them.
They might be getting Nick Robert back too in a couple of weeks as well, from what I saw too, which would be great. He had TJ a year ago and is already on the cusp of being back, so it might be another. I saw something that's like 3 weeks after Frank Menendez comes back, so we're looking at like a 5-week, timetable for his return. And he was pretty instrumental as a freshman for this Miami ball club. Looked pretty good at the start as a sophomore. He's going to provide some valuable innings for this Miami ball club when he does come back.
Getting both those guys full strength by the end of the season, you'd be pretty happy if you're a Miami fan looking at those 2 guys coming out of the bullpen for you. Loving that. So that's all the midweek madness we've gone through. We still got the games going on tonight. We did talk. Cincinnati did go down to lose to BYU. I believe Wright State is winning big in that one there against Butler. And then Georgia Tech is still taking care of business. I mean, the offense is insane.
10-0 run rule, 7 innings. Tate McKee went 6. This is a really interesting line, mind you. 6 shutout, 1 hit, 5 walks, 7 Ks, 53 strikes for 99 pitches. So even when the ace of their staff has a quote-unquote off night, he walks 5 guys, Clemson left 7 on base, only had 2 hits throughout the entire night. Jake Lackey closed out the game with a scoreless inning with only 1 hit allowed. Yeah, like this Georgia Tech team is just a wagon. That's the best wagon to describe it. Looking at the performances, obviously Burris hit 2 home runs. Vahn Lackey goes 3 for 3, 2 RBIs, a double, and a home run. He was a triple side of the cycle after he played 8 positions. It was a single side of the cycle on Tuesday. So, again, I'm going to keep ringing the Vahn Lackey bell. I think he's a top 10 pick at this point.
Just climbing like a skyrocket, man, like just shooting up draft boards. If you haven't watched him play, you're missing out. This is a stud. And I don't know. Viewing. Yeah. I mean, you got to watch this team. It's insane. 1 through 9, all these guys can hit the ball at the ballpark. They might get, they're on pace to get almost 200 doubles in a 56 game season. It's ridiculous what these guys are doing, slugging wise, hitting wise. And if they got the pitching to match it, like this is an Omaha team. Like this is an Omaha team. Like, yeah, they won the ACC last year. They didn't get a lot of credit. They didn't even get the chance to host. They weren't even a host team. I think that they've put all the pieces together. First year coach James Ramsey's been around a long time. I love where they're at.
Yeah. And like you mentioned them not hosting last year, I think they're the first ACC regular season title team to not host a regional.
Yeah, it was a host job to me. I mean, I was upset, but I don't get a vote on that one. But I know that there's a lot of us that were like, hey, you win a conference like the ACC regular season, you win it outright. You should get a host. That's just how it should go.
Absolutely. And that's even with them avoiding some of the bigger powerhouses in the ACC last year too. Like, yeah, I understand they didn't play the best competition. They still did they took care of business. They did their job, and they came out on top when all the dominoes kind of fell their way. Like NC State had a chance to win the title outright. They lose to Stanford in that series at the end of the year. UNC has a chance to win the title, lose to Florida State. So all Georgia Tech had to do was to beat Duke, and here we are. They won the title outright, even though, again, they didn't face. I don't believe they faced UNC last year. They did not face NC State. So, kind of just looking at that, it's like, yeah, oh, well, they still had 20 wins in the ACC and obviously deserved to host. I think that's an argument to be made that, as much as Murray State was the team that came out of that regional, I still feel like Georgia Tech should have at least been at least a 15 or a 16 seed last year, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought that they should have been hosting. I had them in a 15 seed at the end of last year. I was frustrated, and I think a lot of people were. When you win a regular season title, you should get it. I mean, that's just in those conferences. You're in such a big conference, power conference like that. I mean, you gave 2 to the Big Ten. Granted, both those teams are very, very good in Oregon and UCLA, but I think people were frustrated that they got 2, and really UCLA probably didn't deserve it necessarily at some point last year. I don't think that they were necessarily a host team, but then they proved it by getting to Omaha. So what do I know? Maybe I'm just dead wrong on it. Visual edge, man. Dorm room deployment, man. In college baseball, development is everything. You're facing better arms every single weekend, more velocity, sharper breaking balls, smaller margins for victory. At the end of the day, the level is crazy. The difference is starting and sitting can come down to just a handful of swings, man. That's where Visual Edge comes in. Visual Edge is an online vision and cognitive training platform built specifically for baseball players. You start with something called the Edge Test, which measures your pitch tracking, depth perception, reaction time, and visual edge speed. I love the glasses. Tyler's got the glasses on, by the way, for Visual Edge. You guys, this helps you build a personal training performance around your weaknesses. The best part is it's all realistic. Training is only about 15 minutes a day. That's it. You can do it anywhere. You can do it from your dorm room. You can do it from an apartment. You can do it while summer ball housing. All you need is a laptop or tablet. Anything bigger than a phone works. Huge MLB players like Aaron Judge, Nico Horner, Tommy Edman, Key Brian Hayes, they're all using this thing because seeing the ball earlier changes everything. Right now, our listeners can use code CBSHOW. Get yourself some of those free 3D glasses, a free month free. First month is free shipping, cancel anytime. Go to visualedge.com/sign up and use code CBSHOW. That's visual with a Z. 15 minutes a day. Train your eyes, train your brain, earn your edge. Love that you got those glasses on here. I am super excited to try mine out. I'm going to share everybody. As soon as I get them, I'm going to tell them all my stats because it's probably going to be horrible because I'm old now. Not the hitter I once was when I was 18 years old, but I'm going to give it a shot. Very excited for this one here. Let's talk about some of these games we have coming up for the weekend here, Tyler. I'm pumped for these. I think that we got some big ones coming up here. Mississippi State at Arkansas is going to be a massive weekend series. There's not going to be a whole lot bigger than that this weekend to open up SEC play. We do have Georgia Tech at Clemson, big ACC, Tennessee at Georgia, another huge SEC, Florida State at Wake. When we look at all 4 of these, there's a lot of talent out there. I'm going to be shocked if anybody else out there and says, hey, Mississippi State and Arkansas wasn't the best weekend series. I'm worried that we don't see the improvements on the offense from Arkansas. I'm worried that we don't see them jump back into a place where we're like, hey, you know what? This team has really got it. They got it figured out. They're doing the right things. Can they hit? Are they going to be able to hit against this Mississippi State pitching staff that's been pretty good? Like, can they do the things right? Can they go out there and win these baseball games? Or is it going to be the story of Mississippi State's offense? Mississippi State has been tremendous this season. They've gone out and beat just about everybody that's in front of them. Oh, Tyler's back.
I love my laptop was like, oh, by the way, the Visual Edge is so cool. Also, it's the entire laptop and you have to restart again. Have fun. I was going to say, like, I have used these. I did the test on the Visual Edge. I've learned I'm a lot better athlete than I thought I was. So just putting it out there.
Tracking that baseball. You've been watching so many baseball games now. You got it dialed in. Those visual glasses are helping you out, man.
Absolutely.
I was talking about Mississippi State and Arkansas. Do we think that the Arkansas offense will be able to show up at home here this opening SEC weekend, or is it all about this Mississippi State team that's just been on fire on both sides of the ball? Mississippi State's been good on both sides. Yeah, they lost a game to Southern Miss. Yeah, they lost a game to UCLA. 2 top 10 teams. Like, I'm not mad about that.
No, and like we've talked about in the past where that UCLA game where, granted, I do believe they got kind of hosted a little bit towards the end of that game. I do not believe the final strike of the Aiden Teal at bat was a strike. I thought it was a ball. But obviously, you look at it, they were basically a ground rule double away from winning that game. If that ball does not roll into the bullpen, they win that game. They walk it off. They beat UCLA.
Yeah,
it doesn't work that way. But it was still game of the year, in my opinion, at this stage. But, moving past that, I was really impressed with a lot of the starting pitching that they had in Arlington. Ryan McPherson, I believe, is one of the better sophomore starters in the entire country at this point. And even moving past that, you get Duke Stone, who, comes in Sunday. He's been, I don't want to say lights out because he had his lumps against UCLA, but he was fantastic coming in. Before that, Thomas Valencius was very good as well the day after. They have a really, really solid 1, 2, 3 in their rotation. And the pitching has been able to kind of hold them back after that too. But the offense has been really good. Top of the line has been outstanding. Ryder Woodson has been one of the better sophomore bats in the class too. And again, we've talked about the Arkansas offensive struggles. I think with them being at home, it's going to be a little tough for Mississippi State to kind of walk in and trounce them. But I think it's going to be a very competitive series overall. I think Mississippi State does kind of come out on top with the pitching that they have to kind of match Arkansas's pitching staff as well. Hunter Dietz has been fantastic to start to kind of go past the first couple of weeks where he had some command issues. He looked fantastic last weekend against Stetson. I do think that there's going to be a chance that Mississippi State walks out of Fayetteville with a series win.
Yeah, I mean, the ERAs on their starting pitching. Thomas Valencius, 1.74. Ryan McPherson, 1.96. Duke Stone's been so good at 3.06 there. Duke Stone also has a 0.68 whip. Like, the runs that have come off of him have been some hard hit balls, but for the most part, he's keeping people off the base pass. This is a very, very good Mississippi State team. I have picked them to win this weekend. I really think that this is a very good team. I think Arkansas is struggling. I do think Arkansas is a good team also, but I think that they don't know themselves offensively. They have way too much swing and miss. And the fact is Mississippi State has pitching, but they have the offense to match it this weekend. And I think that that's what you're going to have to beat an Arkansas team consistently, especially in Fayetteville. But I'm high on this Mississippi State team. I think that they have all the talent, and going into Arkansas, I think that they take care of business. We've already talked about the Georgia Tech Clemson. I think that we'll see Clemson attempt to bounce back tomorrow, but it's really, really tough. This Georgia Tech offense is really, really good. And the fact is they didn't use hardly any pitching tonight and going only 7 innings. They've set themselves up for a pretty successful weekend here at Clemson. Tennessee at Georgia. This one's interesting because the Tennessee pitching staff has been really, really good. Georgia just has so much, and Georgia gets Kenny Ishikawa back this weekend as their Sunday starter, 2-way player star. Georgia feels like a top 5 team. I know we have them just outside the top 5. They got 14 guys that can play offensively. They got 6 starting pitchers. Tyler, what do you see from this weekend series? I see a lot of offense for Georgia at home.
Yeah, and the thing is, we were talking in the group chat where it just feels like West can roll out whatever the hell lineup he wants to because they're going to win ball games. Because he's been putting, like, Jody Oriarts has been put into a right field spot. He's made a lot of weird moves, but it's worked for them because they're so deep and they're so experienced that it doesn't matter. And the pitching staff, like Dylan V, I believe, had 7 shutout this past weekend. Vochko has been in his own right very good as a Friday night guy. Getting Ishikawa back is fantastic for them because he's been a 2-way stud before he broke his leg, or not his leg, but his foot, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And you look at Tennessee, they've been hot and cold as an offense the past few weeks. Like, obviously they lose the series to Kent State. I thought at times they were a little overwhelmed in Arlington against UCLA's pitching staff in particular, but it's UCLA. What are we going to do? What are we going to do there?
Yeah.
I will say I really like the Tennessee rotation. I think they will go toe to toe with the Georgia rotation. I just really wonder what the offense is going to do behind that. I believe Georgia is going to come out of this victorious. I believe Tennessee is going to put up a good fight regardless. I just want to see what kind of offense we get from the Volunteers this weekend. If it doesn't show up, it might be over pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're going to have to show up. Henry Ford's been terrific for them, right? Like super good. The 5 home runs, he's been leading this team. He's hitting almost 400. I think he actually might still be over 400. Really, really good. Been what they need. This is the rest of the lineup. I mean, guys like Levi Clark have got to step up. There's got to be somebody else that steps up with him and is performing offensively. They need more help offensively than what they've been getting, and Henry Ford's been really good. Florida State at Wake, I want to let you take this one on. I know as one of our resident ACC guys and draft guys, there's so much going on with this one. Florida State offense needs to be more consistent. I'm excited for that Friday night start, Wes Mendez versus Blake Morningstar. Can't wait for this one, Tyler.
Again, I will be there tomorrow night. I believe it's a 7 p.m. start. It might be 6 p.m. I can't remember. It's a 6 p.m. start. Just found it on here on my screen because I'm looking
3 for me.
Hey, that's fun right there. But looking through the rest of the weekend, I think this is going to be a fantastic pitching matchup, especially on a rotation standpoint. Because going past the Morningstar and Mendez matchup tomorrow night, Lavonis and Trey Beer on Saturday, and then Duncan Marston against Bryson Moore. And Bryson Moore has not been terrible in that Sunday role for Florida State so far. And Marston has been pushed into that role now with Matthew Dallas out. And, looking at what they've had recently, Evan Jones has turned into a fantastic freshman arm for them. Reese Bowie has now decided, hey, I throw 98 now with 3,000 RPM breaker from the left side. Have fun. This Wake's pitching staff is really interesting from an analytical and a draft standpoint. And they've won 15 straight after losing the opening game of the year to Houston and Puerto Rico. Yes, I understand they lost the Coastal this midweek, but this Wake team has been a lot better than we talked about them after the opening game down in Puerto Rico. We thought there was some stuff that they had to really work through. Jackson Miller's been one of the best bats on the team, and he's I believe a true freshman.
Yeah.
And you look at like Cade Lewis has been as advertised. It's been really, really good for this Wake Forest ball club. I think you had mentioned it. The Florida State offense kind of has to find their groove. We talked about it earlier. The top 3 guys were 0 for this past week against Florida, and the bottom of the lineup was the ones doing the heavy lifting. I'd like to see how that plays in the ballpark that, again, is a trampoline. There's no other way to put it. That ballpark is small, and any big league pop-up is going to be a home run. I've seen it with Chase Burns. Chase Burns gave up a home run to Wallace Clark a couple years ago that may have gotten 5 inches over the wall, and it's only like 320 down the line to right field. And I was sitting here, it's like, that's a pop fly in Great American Ballpark. So, I think the park dimensions are really going to play a big role into how this series goes. But I think from a standpoint of this pitching matchup is going to be fantastic for anybody that loves pitching duels. I don't think you get much better than what we've got right now in Winston-Salem, and I'm going to be very excited to drive 2 hours to watch this matchup tomorrow. Mendez has been fantastic to start the year. 5 shutout with 1 hit. He walked 4, but he also struck out 12 against the Norse on Friday night a week ago. Trey Beers kind of back into his trying to find his groove after being sick to open the year. We've mentioned Lavonis, probably one of the biggest risers as a sophomore this year. Yeah. He's already touching 100 with nasty stuff. And then Marston has really taken another step forward too. I really like what we've got set up here in Winston-Salem this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. It's one of the best weekend series. I'm excited for it. And our staff is split like 50-50 almost down the middle on this series. Like some of us think Florida State's offense shows up. Some of us believe that Wake Forest is who they are and that they're a top 10 caliber team. We're going to find out more. Again, that's why we get to watch these games, Tyler. Very excited for that. I have a question for you. USC at Northwestern, Ole Miss at Texas. Who remains the undefeated the longest here? It was tight to USC even getting through yesterday, but USC is at Northwestern and Ole Miss is at Texas. Who remains undefeated longer? Do they both make it through the weekend, or do you think one of them drops a game?
I think Texas drops a game.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I think this Ole Miss ball club, we talked about it before, the offensive ramp up with Judd Utmark and Tristan Bissetta, having that power in their lineup is fantastic. And they've got some solid pieces around that too. And the pitching staff's been pretty good outside of, Hunter Elliott's not looked like the prime Hunter Elliott we thought we would see last year. So, I think they steal a game in Texas. I just don't see a way that USC comes out of Evanston, Illinois with a loss, in my opinion. I think this is a very favorable matchup for them. I understand it's on the road, but this Northwestern ball club is not exactly, lighting the world on fire.
No.
Unfortunately, like Grant Kucherak has been pretty solid to start the year. They've got some pieces that look interesting. But when you're facing Mason Edwards, Greg Goebel, and Andrew Johnson, have fun with that. Again, we talked about these guys being such a good pitching staff. And I'm usually wrong. I'm used to being wrong at this point. I just don't see a way where USC has a loss by the end of the weekend. That's just me. I will sit here and eat my words on Monday if I need to, and to hop on and do like an emergency podcast jump in from like yoga or something. Be like, hey, I was wrong. Hands up. I'm not afraid to do that, but this Northwestern team they're not the team, in my opinion, to kind of usurp the dominance that has been on the mound for USC.
No, and outside of Jackson Freeman, the offense hasn't really been there for Northwestern, right? So if USC pitching can somehow hold him down and say, hey, this guy's been great. Those who don't know, Jackson Freeman hitting .441 this year, 3 home runs. Like, he's been really good, a triple, 3 doubles. He's been good for Northwestern. I don't think Northwestern has the firepower offensively. They only have 16 home runs on the season. They're only hitting .275. Like, those aren't bad numbers, but in college, they're not great numbers. And they're facing probably the best pitching staff complete. These two teams that are left undefeated, both probably the number 1, number 2 pitching staffs in the country right now. I think that you're right. I think that Ole Miss finds a way to win a game with the offense somehow. Hunter Elliott has given up more walks and home runs than he did all of last year. So it's kind of a different Hunter Elliott than we're used to seeing so far. But I believe that they're going to find a way offensively to score. I think somebody's going to eventually score on Texas. I feel like you're right. I think it might be Ole Miss this weekend. So,
yeah, I'm excited for it. I think the game where Cade Townsend is on the mound is probably the game that Ole Miss kind of squeaks out a little bit. That's just me guessing at this point. I, again, love Cade Townsend. I do believe that is the game that kind of squeak out a little bit.
Yep. Can't wait. Going to be exciting here. A couple other games this weekend here. Texas A&M and Oklahoma, big top 25 matchup there amongst 2 SEC teams. Texas A&M was my dark horse at the start of the year to win the SEC. Big opening series for them at Oklahoma. Michigan at UCLA, interesting. Tate Carey on Friday night. Can Michigan put some stuff together and look like they did at the beginning of the season? TCU at Arizona State. I know we talked about it just a little bit. Arizona State has been really good offensively, but Mason Brassfield on Fridays has been really good for TCU.
Yeah, and having Lance Davis and Yuli Ferns are behind him too. Like, they've kind of picked it up ever since that UCLA series where they kind of got swatted a little bit. So I think the pitching's starting to come around a little bit for them, which is great. Like, Yuli Fernsler, for example, had a rough go the first time around, has looked better since then. And obviously, you have Chase Brunson, Sawyer Strauss-Snyder, all these bats in the lineup for TCU that I think can make some noise. I just don't know if they can really take down like Cole Carlin, Alex Overbay, and I can't remember who their Sunday guy is. I know it's not Jaden Alba anymore, but they like we mentioned earlier, the top 3 in the lineup for Arizona State has looked fantastic the past week or so, and I just don't see a way where that's going to stop here anytime soon.
Absolutely. I'm excited for all these games, Tyler. I know we're at our hour here. I just wanted to talk more baseball, but any series you're really excited for this weekend? Virginia Tech, maybe? Like, that seems like a good one too.
That's a sneaky good one. I understand Virginia Tech's not been fantastic the past few weeks. They went over in Texas, did not have a very good appearance against Georgia Tech last weekend. And Virginia's another big test for them because Virginia's offense, we mentioned at the top of the show, or even before the show, rather, where we're talking like, Virginia, I came into last weekend thinking like, okay, Virginia's offense is really, really good. Yeah. But UNC's pitching staff is outstanding too. So it's going to be a very tough matchup. Well, guess what? Virginia scored like 30-something runs UNC starters only got 10 total innings, and they really relied on the bullpen heavily to kind of squeak one out at the end there. And the offense was kind of just flat for UNC. So Virginia, I think, is probably going to handily take this. Admittedly, Virginia Tech bullpen especially has been pretty dreadful so far, but they've got some interesting offensive pieces. Lacrudo, Hudson Litterman, Anderson French, and even Ethan Ball. Ethan Ball's been really, really good to start the year. And you get Brett Renfro. I believe they're going to put him back into the Friday spot. I know they didn't do that last week, but Brett Renfro's been looking really good to start the
really
year
good.
Too. So yeah, I think Virginia Tech might take a game out of this series, and it might be closer than what I anticipated to be at this point, considering I believe it's a Commonwealth rivalry up there. But yeah, I think Virginia, just your offense in general, is gonna do a number on this Virginia Tech pitching staff.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited for it though. I got my Virginia hat over my shoulder here. Got all sorts of hats now. We're filling up this thing. I love it. Any other series you're really excited for before I let you go and we get out to getting to watch some ball games this weekend, man? I think we're both going out to places. It's going to be fantastic baseball weather.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited now that the rain and the slightly cold weather is on its way out. I'll kind of stick to home and mention the NC State Boston College series a little bit. I had mentioned it before. NC State hasn't necessarily been tested to start the year, and they dropped the midweek to Elon, have some pretty bad losses on the resume already. This Boston College team is kind of better than what people realize. Gavin Soares has been one of the best relievers in the ACC to date so far. Obviously, AJ Colarusso is going to be interesting. He's going to dice guys up. And that's kind of been something that I've noticed with NC State. They kind of get hung up on these really crafty arms, and Colarusso is definitely one of those guys, and he's very competitive. So I think Boston College is going to have a lot more fight than what some people kind of anticipate with NC State. I think it's going to be a lot better of a series than some people expect it to be. And that's mainly because I just feel like, again, NC State's not necessarily proven to this point. And I want to see, as much as the offense has been fantastic, I want to see it against a team like this before I kind of start looking around and going, is this a team that can host a regional, or is this a team that could be a 2 seed somewhere else in the country? Like, where do we see this NC State team in a couple weeks, But the pitching staff's been great. Like, Jacob Duden has been fantastic to start the year. In this time last year, Jacob Duden was throwing 75% breaking balls. It wasn't throwing any strikes with the fastball. The changes that he's made to really turn into the quote unquote secondary ace behind Ryan Marone has been fantastic. So, I think that's something to look forward to, as well as how Duden goes against this Boston College team that has bats that I believe they played in Stewart's and put up like 30 runs or something this week. That's something we didn't talk about. That game had like 60 some odd runs. It was a nightmare for pitching up there in Stewart's this week.
I am so excited, man. I honestly can't wait for all these games this weekend. Opening of SEC play, opening of Big 12 play. Big 10 is already going. ACC is already going, man. It's going to be such great stuff. No matter where you're at, go out, go watch a ball game, guys, and go to visualedge.com with visual with a Z /CB show /sign up. Use our code CB show. Go get yourself a pair of those awesome glasses. Get yourself visually trained. We'll see you guys on the Saturday morning show. Thanks again for joining us on the Thursday preview show. See you guys soon.